Greetings travellers, or should I say potential travellers. As a day one player with more than a few hours under my belt, I sometimes wonder what it must be like coming into No Man's Sky for the first time at this stage in the game. To say No Man's Sky has come a long way from launch would be a gross understatement, with update upon update expanding the number of things to do to the point where it could be something quite daunting for new players, and even a reason not to jump in. So if you're thinking of getting into NMS but wondering if it's going to be worth your time, I thought I'd share some thoughts after 7 years of relatively regular gameplay. Incidentally, this is the longest I've ever played any game, and this may or may not say something about me, or the game, or both. So let's look at what to expect if you're thinking of getting started in 2024. So yeah, No Man's Sky is big. Some might say too big. But you'll start small, nothing but yourself and a busted ship on a pretty unfriendly planet. So if you like survival games, the first few hours will be right up your alley. You will also almost immediately start the Artemis path, which will teach you all you need to know to get mobile and introduce you to the lore of the game. There is quite a lot of lore in the No Man's Sky universe, as well as languages to learn of the different species. NMS doesn't spoon feed, so it will take some time to come to grips with the world you're in, and that might be a turn-off for some people. The game does require a relaxed, patient mindset, but for me that's part of the enjoyment. I use it as a way to chill. There is a kind of deliberate aimlessness about it, but there are enough breadcrumbs and rewards, especially early on, to keep you moving through the quest lines. And there are also larger time-limited expeditions introducing new lore and exclusive items to collect. As a long-time reader of hard sci-fi, in my opinion the lore was a little undercooked for quite a while, but in recent updates they have improved it greatly. It's kind of a paradox that NMS wants to be an open sandbox, but is also obligated to introduce lore and some kind of story progression, because we the players have been conditioned to expect it. To their credit, Hello Games have found a pretty good balance, and it is still literally No Man's Sky out there. From early on, you'll be encouraged to catalogue new species of plants and animals to earn coin and to collect pets. They can be renamed by you and uploaded to the servers. These lifeforms are procedurally generated, and you'll be the first person to see them more than likely. This was a big part of the appeal for me coming into the game, and it is a thrill, it really is. The whole where no one has gone before thing. That being said, after a few hundred planets, the novelty might wear off for a lot of players. At least it has for me. There can be a sameness that will creep into the animal, plant and planet generation. As much as I love the game, it's true. Having said that, just when I think I've seen everything, some weird iteration will pop up and surprise me. You can also mess with pet DNA to tweak them to your liking, as well as a whole cooking thing using found ingredients that I've barely scratched the surface of. Simply put, the game can be breathtaking. I would guess many new players will spend several of their first few hours just marvelling at the worlds around them. It's a stylised game, so if you're after a true space simulator, you probably can do better. But for sheer spectacle, it would be hard to beat No Man's Sky. There is also a great in-game photo mode, which you'll no doubt take advantage of. The visual aesthetics of the game is what initially drew me in all those years ago when I saw those early demos, and I would safely say that those early expectations have now finally been met. It is gorgeous. Resources play a crucial role in almost everything you do in No Man's Sky. Back in the early days, a lot of time was spent grinding and crafting to keep you and your ship going, which can be fun for a while. After about 3 or 4 years of it, I must admit I was guilty of a bit of duping, but now you have the option to change the difficulty settings mid-game to avoid a lot of this tedium if you want. There were a lot of initial complaints about nerfing when this was introduced, but like a lot of things, players got used to it or got out. You can set your difficulty to creative and have almost everything on a plate if you want to, for example, jump straight into the building part of the game. There are a few things like nanites and quicksilver which still require some hunting, so it hasn't completely been optionalized. One thing to know about NMS is that combat isn't central to the game. If anything, it is designed to discourage it. There are ship and terrestrial combat elements to the game, but PvP is essentially non-existent, although it inevitably happens. From the beginning, the game was more about exploration than creating empires, and with over 18 quintillion planets, there is plenty of space for everyone. That being said, great improvements have been made in the space and ground battle graphics, and if you want to be a space scoundrel, then go right ahead. One aspect of the game that many are drawn to is ship, freighter and multi-tool hunting. There is no ship customization in the game, and each solar system has randomly generated ships unique to it. You can get modules to build up the stats, but they are also randomly spread through the galaxies. There is a great Reddit group called the NMS Coordinate Exchange, where many hunters leave details of their finds. I must admit I went through a ship hunting phase for quite a while, and it was really fun hunting for my dream ship that I actually eventually got through that Reddit page. Another aspect of the game is building your freighter fleet and sending them out on missions. You can now also base build on your freighter and be totally mobile. The addition of this is a good example of how Hello Games is slowly and methodically improving all of the parts of the game that were lacking at launch. Base building is arguably the strongest aspect of the game when it comes to longevity of gameplay. One great thing about changing the difficulty settings is that if you want to get started building without having to grind resources to unlock all the building parts, you don't have to anymore. You can unlock most building parts straight away. And there is even a whole music creation rabbit hole for those with a taste for it. After 6 years or so, there is now a great community of builders out there on Reddit, YouTube and Discord who are very generous with their knowledge. I personally have had the most fun with the glitch building element of the game, which has led to this channel. I have stood on the shoulders of giants and I thank all of them. The level of skill out there is incredible and can be a great creative outlet. This leads me to what is probably the most special thing about No Man's Sky, the players. I've never seen a community that is so willing to help each other, share knowledge, and generally be encouraging as the players of this game. If you just hang around the Space Anomaly long enough, someone will gift you something of value, and there's no end of Redditors or YouTubers willing to share what they know. There is generally a strong live and let live attitude in the game, and when griefing occurs, it's pretty quickly called out and the culprits probably go off to do it on some other game. I think it's a testament to the core ideals of Murray and his small crew, and what they wanted to make with No Man's Sky, this idea of a game based not in conflict but exploration, that has attracted a certain kind of gamer. The players, for the most part, have stood by No Man's Sky and have been rewarded with free update after free update, year after year, with the promise of more to come. So in closing, No Man's Sky is not the perfect game by any stretch. I would liken it to a stroll in the woods, occasionally stopping to smell the space roses, as distinct from making a determined beeline to the next checkpoint and then the next. It's a meandering game where you are free to do pretty much whatever you want, with several niche activities depending on your tastes, with no real pressure to do any of it. And that is both its strength and its weakness. So hopefully this was helpful if you are thinking of getting into No Man's Sky for the first time, or coming back into the fold. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you later.